everyone, welcome to B Data Solutions. I'm Barakatu and this is my channel. If you enjoy the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give a thumbs up and leave a comment below for more updates. Let's dive in. Be honest, we all know right now, unless you are living under a rock, we all are patching, trying to make it, surviving in Canada. It's not to say that the situation is so dramatic that people are skipping meals, but it is so dramatic that I wouldn't be surprised if people are skipping meals. I'm not quite sure how. Maybe I was not alive the past 10 years, but for some reason, it seems like I just woke up in a different dimension. Why is the case? Because I do remember, before COVID, going to a grocery store, buying eggs, buying milk, getting basic necessities for breakfast, and still walking away with a basket full of items without having to feel like I just spent 2 months worth of grocery money. And the reality is very simple. We are not in an environment where we can easily grow food in our balconies, in our homes. We are in an area in the globe where we experience 8 or 10 months of snow. I mean, it could be shorter. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like we are in a cold season, at least 8 months a year. And not many items that we use daily are easily produced in our home or home-based production. And the reality is the consequences are not limited to just not being able to afford the food or quality of food, because many of us are just going through the motions. We don't assess how this situation is impacting our mental health, our emotional health, our ability to socialize, just because we can't afford to socialize. Just to bring 3 points that many people don't talk about is the cost of health care with food not being this affordable. We don't realize it now, but in 10 years from now, many of us will get older. Hopefully, we will not be buried. We still will be alive. And how that translates to current, or it is connected to our current lifestyle, it is just health-wise, we're going to experience as a society a degradation of our health, because for a long time, many of us couldn't afford to eat properly, right? Eventually, some people may bounce back. I'm not quite sure that the job market will help us to keep up with the reality of cost, expenses, and inflation. But at the pace of 2% pay increase year over year, and inflation being, I don't know, I feel it at 10%, if not more, because let's be honest, the tablet of 30 eggs used to be less than $8 or $7, was very affordable, and not compared to the States, but at least manageable financial wise. But lately it's around $10.30. So that's not a 7% jump. That's not a 10% jump. Let's do the math. And many items that are part of our basic life have the cost of those items has increased so much so that we can't afford to to basically buy them the way we used to buy it, right? So there is a cost associated with our health, even though we don't realize it today, even though we don't think about it today. And even if the public sector or our legislature, if government don't pay attention to it, eventually it's going to catch up to them, because when people start using the the health system in an exponential way, regular way, with chronic diseases or illness connected to uh, the, food deprivation or lack of food quality, food accessibility, then you realize that maybe uh, the solution to the problem was could have been found or implemented 10 years prior. And that's just the reality of it, because we're going to get older. And at this pace, many of us will experience chronic illness just linked to not being able to eat properly, not being able to afford food, the quality of food that they tell us all that we need to eat in order for us to be healthy, maintain a healthy lifestyle that will allow us to live longer. Maybe it is artificially being designed this way, because let's face it, if many of us just drop dead, we will not be cashing in on our retirement plans. And if we are fortunate to have kids, they will not spend 20, 30 years of their life taking care of senior citizens. But there is like I said, there is a cost associated with it, because maybe we will not all drop dead, dying like flies, and we will be dependent on the health system chronically, and the next generation will have to do their parts and contribute higher taxes, higher less affordability, less accessibility, not having access to much of the economic pie, and that's just the reality of it. The other thing that we don't think about it at this point of time, just because everybody's busy trying to meet and mean and needs, what many of us don't even realize how our social life has deteriorated due to the cost of living. Because if we can't afford to go out, eat out, or recreational lifestyle or travel vacation, what is left? I'm asking people, everyone, how are you going to maintain a healthy social life, a healthy connection with the community, if we can't afford to drive, if we can't afford to eat outside of our homes, if we can't pay bus fare? Because let's face it, the chunk of our income is being consumed by the necessity to maintain, the basic needs that we have to take care of. So I'm just trying to figure out how our social life is supposed to be maintained if we can't afford any social life. Unless a small group of people who have been fortunate to have dual income, where maybe tax are not purging the majority of their what is it called, leftover money. But the reality is, many people that I come across don't live that reality. They don't have access to extended income, investment. And it's not because they don't want to, it's just because what is left for people to invest, right? When we pay, after we pay rent, mortgage, utilities, food, transportation, our insurance, and then taxes take 30-40% of our income. What is left? There is nothing left to invest. And even if you are lucky enough to put a little bit in your saving account, again, the government come and takes 30% of your saving of the interest in your saving account, right? So I do understand many people advocate for investing and planning for retirement and so on and so forth. But the only people who can do that are the people who are able to meet today so they can afford to think about tomorrow. When you are struggling to meet your need consistently, recurrently, and day in, day out, retirement in 30 years is not your priority. Anyone will be lucky to hit there. But at this pace, many of us, even if whether you get there or not, we all will be surfing in the same sea, bleeding, trying to survive. I don't know who, but 40 years of surviving, 60 years of surviving doesn't look like heaven when you get to 70, right? And the third thing is, family life. Family life. You have two spectrum. People who stay together because they can't afford to break up, right? You can't afford to be by yourself, pay rent, your own mortgage, your own utilities, and take care of the kids half of the time. So you stay with in a relationship that doesn't give you any type of satisfaction or emotional connection or rewards. So basically, due to financial reasons, we are back to what, 1600, 1500, 1700s, where women used to stay or find a suitor just because that was a survival mechanism, and not necessarily for emotional needs, right? And the other end of the spectrum is very simple. Uh, People can't afford to be together, right? So you have two single people that manage to be with roommates, trying to put some, trying to survive, barely making it. The least they don't want to think about coming into a relationship. They can't afford to be in a relationship because there is also a cost associated with being in a relationship. So, what does it look like? You have young men and women who, 50 years ago, would have been motivated to find love, get married, have a family, but are choosing 3, 4, 5 jobs part time, like one full time job, two part time job, so they can pay rent and their bills. So that's not an ideal society. I do not know. And I think there is an economic reason behind all of this, why we are going into life at a pace at which we are going in, spending all of this money to rent our life on earth when we all know it's freely given to us by God, right? Um, so society or our decision makers at some point in life decided that all of us will be renting our space on earth, just because from a public sector perspective, we have to pay tax to maintain our society. But then we all realize that we are putting in more into the basket that we are getting or we hope to get for ourselves or our children. Because if poverty is the reason why people are not mating to create future generation, that is fundamentally speaking a departure from historical trend. Because in the past, people used to mate to survive, not the other way around, right? So unless we figure out how we're gonna manage this situation, and not from an isolated perspective or individualistic perspective, or with some deciding to escape. I mean, anybody will try to escape the Titanic before it sinks. However, escaping also may not be the long-term solution, because at the end of the day, you may be running from these issues here in Canada, but eventually somewhere else also may experience similar issues that you are not aware of, or different issues that will also trigger the same challenges that many of us are facing here. So I wanted to just come and connect with you again and just share a perspective of as an immigrant woman in Canada, just trying to make it and just realizing that the path to economical wealth or financial freedom is not as clear as I hope it as it used to be. Let's be honest. It's not as clear, and it's not like I'm losing faith or hope, but the reality is, right now I'm not quite sure if a solution is being contemplated by our leaders from a macroeconomics perspective, so that the impact is felt at a micro level in with all of us who are actively working, contributing to this economic pie. Thank you again for coming to my channel. Please do leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And to the next video. Bye.